Imagine this, you're deep in the woods, feeling the thrill of adventure, when suddenly, the peace is shattered by a growl. You're not alone. But here's the twist, the thing that's stalking you isn't just any wild animal. It's something more. Something unexpected. Part 25. Warner. Roderick raises one eyebrow at me, but then lets me lead the way again. I moved deeper into the woods. When the sound of the girl's laughter has almost faded, I pause by a tree with low thick limbs. To my agent extraordinaire, mythical, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I strip off my clothes, folding them neatly before setting them up in the tree. I hope no curious critters decide to claim them. I'd have a hard time explaining to Highway Patrol why I'm riding my bike home without clothes. Make for a good story there. Once I'm completely bare, I coax my wolf forward, letting the form envelope my body. The change is slower. If my wolf sensed danger or responded to the call of the full moon, then I'd be able to switch to four legs in a matter of seconds. But pulling the change out without the aid of adrenaline or no magic means I'm struggling for a minute or two, grimacing at the pain of my bones snapping and rays shaping. Eventually, I'm in my wolf form, panting and shaking off the last lingering bit of discomfort. When I turn back toward the campsite, I see Roderick's wolf sitting calmly, waiting for me. Another perk of being the pack leader. More magic means a faster change. I huff at him as I trot by. Soon, I'm staring out at the crackling fire and cackling women, my grey coat camouflaging me. Roderick settles at my side, his black coat just as good for spying. Protecting. I correct myself. I think it's time. Zoe announces. Time for what? I wonder. I knew it. That fourth beer was the turning point. Hudge Juliet says. Roderick shifts beside me, probably also wondering what this is a preamble to. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. This is happening. Zoe strolls toward the woods, and my protective nature stirs. Good luck, the librarian offers. Zoe raises a fist in the air before declaring, I'm going to pee outside. This is a special event. Yeah, I'll mark it down in history books. Juliet calls after her, chuckling as she sinks back into her camping chair. Zoe passes by our hiding spot, not even 10 feet separating us. But we're hunters. We know how to hide well. I'm going to pee. Pee on a tree. Zoe sings to herself. Even in wolf form, Roderick knows how to roll his eyes, which he does now as I stand to trot after her. I, on the other hand, have my jaws open in a wolfish grin. Zoe keeps up her funny chant until she's a decent distance from her little campsite. Coming to a stop, she turns in a circle, her movements hinting at a lack of balance. Now which one of you naughty boys is looking for a golden shower? If I were in human form, there's no way I'd be able to stifle my laughter. But I keep my jaws clenched shut and turn my back to give her privacy. And I start making plans for how to convince this old woman to be mine Zoe. When my pants are around my ankles, I get the sense I'm being watched. Super convenient. I've got my back pressed against a tree, my thigh muscles put to use as I brace myself in a sitting position. Up until the creepy watching feeling, I was proud of myself for figuring out this whole pee in the woods thing. Whenever someone hears I'm from Denver, they automatically assume I spend my weekends climbing mountains and hiking mile-long trails in the wilderness. Yeah, no. I love looking at the gorgeous mountainous landscape. Maybe taking a drive on the twisty mountain roads. But get out and explore them. I've never really been brave enough. But here I am, camping with my new friend, using nature as my toilet. And I'm pretty sure there's something lurking in the nearby shadows. This is why people pee surrounded by four walls. Such a vulnerable time requires shelter. Julia, did you follow me? I call out. That's one way to get close fast. Kind of like going to the bathroom together at a club. Would have preferred we discussed it first. But hey, I'll take a surprise Juliet over a surprise bear. There's no answer. Part 26. Zoe Warner's comment about wild animals has me paranoid. Then a twig snaps, and I'm scrambling to pull up my jeans. Shit. I don't bother zipping before lunging toward my flashlight. When I have it in my hand, I shine the beam in a broad circle, needing to know what kind of creature I'm about to face. It lumbers out of the trees, huge head focused on me. Fucking hell. I collapse back against an bee tree, clutching my chest. Goddamn it. Bruce. I almost peed all over myself. My dog seems thoroughly unconcerned, sniffing the air as he wanders around. You're lucky I was done, I mutter, taking a moment to zip my fly and calm my clamoring heart. Come on, you big OF. I need another beer. You scared me sober, and I'm missing my happy buzz, part of it caused by the alcohol, but the other bit by a certain biker who made a surprise appearance. Despite this being the first for into bonding with my new librarian friend, I have to admit I was slightly bummed to send Warner away. He's just so nice to be around. He gives me a warm, giggly feeling that I haven't had in a while, maybe ever. And when I have beer running through my veins, I don't have to think about how I'm not planning on staying in Pine Falls. I can enjoy the sensation of having a crush. I can laugh at his jokes, fall into his arms, pretend that I have an idea of where my life is headed, and maybe it's not impossible to pursue a small town biker. She's back. Juliet cheers me as I approach the campfire. She's moved to stand near the edge of the lake. How'd you do? This big dope scared me half to death. But I'll survive. I throw a thumb at Bruce, who reclaims his spot on a worn blanket. And my bladder is empty. So mission accomplished. Success. Juliet grins, then turns back to the water and locks a rock out of her hand. The pebble skips until it's swallowed by darkness. After grabbing myself another beer, I join her by the water's edge. The whole afternoon we've talked about light-hearted things like our favorite books and foods and hobbies. I now know that Juliet isn't only good at camping, but she's also a rock climber. She makes sense in a Colorado town more than I do. Still, Pine Falls is kind of removed. I'm curious how she ended up here, and my town is just loose enough that I'm ready to ask. Do you have family in town? Nope. She skips another rock that goes even farther than the first. How'd you hear about Pine Falls then? The job posting was online, and I was looking. She hesitates, and my curiosity is thoroughly piqued. I wanted to get away, and Pine Falls fit the bill. This is prying, isn't it? I'm being pushy. Better than most. This comes out softer, lacking her enthusiasm from a moment ago. I glance at the side of her head for a moment, but Juliet stares fixedly out at the water. Eventually, I turn to stare into the darkness with her. We're friends, right? Juliet visibly tenses. Yeah, the word doesn't come out solid. It's as if she's only loaned it to me and is bracing to take it back at any moment. Then I want to establish a very important rule of our friendship. What's that? Wariness fills her tone. Juliet probably expects me to say something like we have to be 100% honest with each other, or that she's required to divulge all her deepest, darkest secrets to me. But building a friendship isn't the same as making a deal with the devil. Rule number 1, feel free to tell me to shut up whenever you feel it's necessary. Silence stretches between us, and I look over again to find Juliet now staring at me, a glimmer of hope in her sweet dark eyes. Zoe, would you mind shutting up? Not in the slightest. We spend the next half hour drinking beer and throwing rocks. The only sounds are the tiny splashes in the water, crickets chirping, branches rustling in the wind, and my big lazy dog snoring. And I ignore the sensation of eyes watching me. Part 27. Zoe. Around noon, I finally stopped sobbing. There wasn't just one thing that set me off. A bunch of little things did. Stubbing my toe on a rock, missing my family, thoughts of Minnie, dropping Juliet off because our friend date was done. But the real culprit was beer. I knew, even as I was cracking open my 5th can of Coors, that I was making an unhealthy choice. When I first started on my antidepressants, I was lucky enough to discover that one drink had no noticeable effect on my mental health. But there's a threshold, and when I pass it, I rolled eyes with misery. Now, after spending a night getting to know Juliet, I know she wouldn't have judged me or made me feel bad about needing to stay sober. But at a little camping trip, she'd shown up with a cooler full of beer, proudly declaring we were going to get wasted in the wilderness. The idea sounded so fun. I convinced myself the repercussions weren't as bad as I remembered. I barely made it halfway home when the wretchedness crashed over me. Not the true darkness that arrives slowly and drags me under the surface. This is a malfunction with my meds and hopefully short-lived. Parked on the side of the road, the tears fell in rivers. Eventually, I calmed long enough to drive again, but only made it as far as the front porch before I collapsed on a rocking chair and wallowed in my unexplainable sadness. Well, there is an explanation, just not a satisfying one. My brain sometimes decides to be unhappy without cause. When the misery subsides, I'm left with itchy eyes, a sore throat, and an aching head. All of these lend a sharp edge to my voice as I search for my dog. Bruce. The screen door opens with a creak as I move to the back porch, calling out for the furry brute. Bruce. Dinner time. The sun hasn't set, but the day seems almost done as charcoal clouds gather in the sky. A rumble of thunder warns of a coming storm. If I had fired this goddamn cabin, then I would have been able to check the weather. And if I had checked the weather, I never would have let Bruce out to wander freely when there's about to be rain. Trying to dry off a dog that weighs almost twice as much as I do is not a tango I want to dance today. Only solution, get him back inside before the rain comes. Bruce, don't make me come looking for you. I let him out when I stumbled inside a while back, still in the midst of my sobbing haze. Honestly, I'm surprised he didn't scratch at the door hours ago. As another minute or so passes with no sign of the mastiff, I accept that I can't just linger on the porch, grumbling about poorly trained dogs that don't listen to commands. I pull on my sneakers and grab his leash. I start my search by circling the yard, looking to see if he just fell asleep and was passed out to hear me calling. No sign of a giant mound of fur, and Bruce is not an easy target to hide. Apparently, he decided to go on an adventure in the woods. The woods mean dirt and twigs and leaves. So many random things I'll have to scrub him clean if he gets wet on his jaunt. There's still time. A slim chance I can find him before the downpour. Problem is, the forest stretches out in all directions, and I'm not sure what way he went. I circle around the backyard again, calling his name as I go, just in case. As I scan the line of trees, I notice a break in the branches. Not a trail exactly, but the grass seems to have been flattened as if it was stepped on. While I waffle between trying the knot, trail or staying at the cabin, another crack of thunder sounds out like a warning, or the start of a countdown timer. 15 minutes. Straight in, and straight out. I mutter to myself. If I don't find him, then I'll just pile an arsenal of towels by the back door. The scent of pine and damp air surrounds me the moment I step into the forest. I focus on my annoyance because the minute I let it go, worry will set in. Bruce might seem like an unbreakable mammoth, but he's not immortal. What if he got lost? What if he hurt himself? No, stop it. He's just being an ass. As I push through undergrowth and duck low, hanging branches, the not trail becomes a no. Way in, hell could anyone call this a trail? Bruce. The air takes on a humid, sticky texture, and the sky grows ominously dark above the canopy. Rain is coming, and I don't think it's going to be a little sprinkle. Bruce. A root trips me up, and I stumble, barely catching myself before I face plant. A snarl of frustration seeps from my chest. If you don't show up in the next 5 seconds, then you do not get to lick my ice cream bowl tonight. Do you hear me? No dessert. The woods are silent. All the chirping birds and chattering squirrels having gone to ground in anticipation of the coming storm. They're probably watching me from their nice, warm nest, laughing at the silly human wandering aimlessly through the trees. You have 5 seconds. Bruce. The thick air muffles my shout. No dog. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I call out, A growl in my voice. No dog. More growling. Only, this time it's not mine. Part 28. Zoe immediately. My frustration vanishes. No room for it left in my body. Every inch of me has gone still, frozen in place by wary fear. The forest is quiet. I was sure, but maybe it was thunder. Or maybe it was Bruce. This time I don't shout, keeping my voice just above a whisper. Silence. No dog and no growling. I take another step. My movements noisy with the crack of twigs and the crumbling of dead leaves. And then, even over my self-made racket, I catch the sound again. A low, threatening growl. There's an animal nearby, and it's not my easygoing mastiff. Shit, 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 chanting the curses aloud. I slowly turn in place, searching for the owner of the noise. But the storm clouds have blocked out the sun, and the woods now sit in a perpetual twilight. I'm surrounded by looming trees and thick, shadowy brush. Plenty of places for an animal to hide. Anything could be stalking me, and I won't know what it is until their teeth tear into my throat. A wolf. Maybe. Or a bear. Do bears growl? Whatever it is, I'm screwed. What weapons do I have? Can I agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben? Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Yeah. Great. I'll just hook it to the wolf, bear's collar, and take it for a soothing walk. That'll definitely circumvent any possible death by morning. Stop being sarcastic and think. I muttered to myself, trying my best to push away the rising tide of panic. People go hiking in Colorado all the time. This isn't the first instance of someone stumbling across a wild animal. There are ways to survive. I just need my brain to focus enough to remember them. With frantic thoughts, I try to scroll through my mental Rolodex and come up with what little wilderness knowledge I have. Bears are supposed to leave people alone in the fetal position, so my best bet is to curl into a ball on the ground and hope it does nothing more than sniff me. That is, if the animal is a bear. What if it's a wolf? Lying on the ground will make it easier to tear me to shreds. I should climb a tree to get away from a wolf. But bears can climb trees. Another growl is overwhelmed by a thunderclap, and for a moment I think my heart gives up in fear. When it restarts, the pounding has adrenaline coursing through my veins, demanding I make a decision. I choose the only logical solution I can fathom in the heat of my fear. I need to climb a tree, and once I'm up high enough, I'll get in the fetal position. Is that even possible? Will it work? Time to find out. This time when I scan the shadowy forest around me, I look for a tree that will serve my purpose. The wind picks up just as I choose one. I grasp the rough bark of a low branch, pressing the soles of my sneakers against the trunk as I heave myself upward, hooking my heel on the limb. I'm able to mount the thing with the grace of a hippopotamus using a balance beam. But I'm up. Time to get up farther, pulling myself branch by branch. I'm about halfway to a height I judge as safe from wolves when the clouds dump their load. As my fingers slip trying to find a grip, I pray to the universe that Bruce is far away from here, and that the creature growling at me doesn't like getting wet. When I judge myself a good 15 feet off the ground, I perch on the thick branch, hugging the tree trunk and trying my best to curl into a ball. The rain pounds down, soaking my sweatshirt and yoga pants. The steady thrumming of it against every surface drowns out all other sounds. I have no way of knowing if the creature has left, or if it's at the foot of the tree, circling me even now. Lightning cracks across the sky, illuminating the twisting branches in an eerie disjointed display. As I shiver in my soggy clothing, I try to think of a way out of this mess. Staying here is no good. While Colorado fall days are pleasantly crisp, the nights drop close to freezing. Pair that with my wet clothing, and I'm rolling the dice with pneumonia. But if I leave my perch, I'll probably be met with a pair of hungry jaws. If I can't stay here, but I can't climb down, what other solution is there? The sky splits with another angry flash, and I flinch at the noise. With the spotlight, like flash illuminating my surroundings, I realize just how close the neighboring trees are. Their branches overlap, beckoning me like a flimsy rope bridge over a deep crevasse. The limbs sway in the wind, but I can't help considering their escape. If I'm careful, take my time, lay my feet right and grab what I need to grab, I could theoretically traverse the treetops all the way back to Grandma Millie's yard. The whole time I would be out of reach of wolves. And even if a bear climbs this tree to follow me, would they try hopping from branch to branch? Surely, they weigh too much to pull off the same maneuver I'm planning. Sheets of rain crash down harder, causing shivers to rack my body. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Wet weather isn't going to help with my grip, but if I don't leave this tree soon, I'm not sure I'll be able to move my quickly cramping fingers. Slowly, I release my death grip on the tree trunk, moving my grasp to an overhead limb. Then I inch forward. Leveled creaks under my weight, but I can already brush the smallest twigs on the neighboring tree. I've just about worked up the courage to make a grab for the first step in a long journey, when I hear a noise over the torrential downpour. Part 29's Oe. Where the hell are you? I don't know if I'm more elated at the sound of another human being looking for me, or terrified that they might come face to face with the very creature I'm hiding from. My shout comes out high-pitched and desperate, turning it into more of a screech. Zoe. A few seconds later, Warner crashes through the bushes. He's so determined in his searching. He's about to pass right under my hiding spot. Wait, I'm up here. He whirls around, blinking rain out of his eyes as he gazes up at me. Thank fuck. I couldn't convince myself to climb down before, when it was only my safety at risk. But for Warner, I accept the danger. My descent is just as ungainly as the initial climb, plus a few uncoordinated slips because of the wet surfaces. Finally, I'm standing on solid ground, but that lasts only a second before I'm swept up into a pair of strong arms. What the hell? Do you always climb trees in thunderstorms? N. My answer rakes out through chattering teeth. Damn it. You're soaked. His one arm goes tighter around my waist as the other hand lifts to push wet strands of hair off my face. The warmth of his body seeps through my drenched clothes, and I'm powerless against a happy groan. Hugging Warner after sitting cold and wet in a tree is equivalent to slipping into a sulphurous hot spring. You can't make those kinds of noises around me, he grumbles even as his lips threaten a smile. But it drops away again. What were you doing? Trying to stay safe. The chattering of my teeth begins to slow as more of Warner's body heat seeps into my chilly limbs. I worry that I'm steering it all, but my concern is enough to detach from him. Was being stalked by a wolf bear. What's a wolf bear? A demonstration of my inability to distinguish animal noises. Zoe. At the tone of his voice, I glance up at Warner, noting that he seems to be battling amusement and frustration. Normally, I would find your roundabout answers adorable. But right now, you need to be very clear. Why were you up in that tree? That's as clear as I can be. I heard something growling. It might have been a bear. It might have been a wolf. I didn't want to hang around to find out. So I climbed the tea tree. You think it could have been a wolf? Did you see any of it? Do you know what color it was? Color? If I saw it, I wouldn't be referring to it as a wolf bear. Would I? He nods, but his attention isn't focused on me like it was a moment ago. Right now, he's more concerned with scanning the trees, as if my animal stalker might still be lurking in the shadows even now. I really hope not. Despite the warmth of him, another shiver wrecks my body, approaching a 10 on the Richter scale. The rattling is enough to regain Warner's attention. Let's get you home and warm. No argument here. He shelters me under his arm, and we dive back into the underbrush. Time drags on longer with rain pouring down. Every footstep a squelching mess. The cold numbs all the edges of me. My fingers, the tip of my nose, the tops of my cheeks, and my toes. Hell in a handbasket. My toes. They ache terribly before all sensation disappears. This is how trench foot starts. When we break through another cluster of trees, Grandma Minnie's cabin finally comes into view. A few tears might leak out at the sight, but there's no way Warner will notice with my face already drenched with rain. Once we're on the porch, the overhang blocks most of the rain. Do you see me, Bruce? My big dopey dog isn't waiting by the back door like I hoped, and as I stare out into the yard, I can barely make out anything as sheets of rain tear down. Is that why you were out there? Warner's arms come back around my shoulders, guiding me toward the door. Why, you don't think the Wolf Bear G got him? Do you? My chattering teeth are back and won't let me get out a full sentence without stumbling over my words. But I don't care, no matter how cold I am. Bruce will be equally as bad, still stuck in the storm. I pull away from Warner's arms, needing to make another round of the yard. Did I check under the car? Damn it. Zoe. Bruce is inside the house. Warner wraps his warm hands around my chilled ones. How is he not morphing into an icicle like me? His clothes are equally as soaked as mine. What? Come inside. Bruce is inside. Despite not fully believing him, I still allow myself to be led out of the cold, wet evening into the warm cabin. But even as the door shuts behind us, I don't see my dog. He's not, he is. Come on. Warner heads to the guest bedroom, and I follow, stumbling on my numb feet. Still no Bruce. That is, until Warner gestures I should circle to the other side of the bed. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Sticking out from under the frame is a big, beautiful dog, but I fall to my soggy knees to peer under the bed. And as I do, I hear a comically loud snore. Fucking asshole. I almost got eaten for you. The words should come out angry, but I'm too relieved that he's here, and safe, to be mad. At the sound of my voice, Bruce snorts himself awake. He does a funny roll, shimmy to get out from under the bed, before sniffing at my drenched clothes. Shivers rack my body as I scratch behind his ears. You went searching for him? Warner asks as he leans on the doorframe, dripping on the hardwood. I guess I forgot to let him back in, and when he didn't come when I called, I shrug and push myself up from the floor. My shoes squelch with every movement, and my log clothes cling to my chilled skin. I imagine Warner feels the same discomfort I do. I'm going to change. He nods and makes to move back. Do you want to stay? I mean, you should. It can't be safe to drive in that. Raynus ults the windows and more thunder rumbles. I would. Warner gives me a rueful smile, before glancing down at his own soggy countenance. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I don't think Minnie has anything that'll fit you. I bite my lip as I brainstorm, coming up with a solution that I might like a little too much. I can stick your clothes in the dryer. You can work some toga magic with a couple of towels till then. Maneuvering past him, I open the hallway in closet to pull out an armful of towels. Are you trying to get me to strip? Zoe Gunner. I hide my smile by pushing him toward the bathroom. Technically, yes, but with fully innocent intentions. Liar. Warner chuckles and goes where he's directed. When the door closes, I head to the master bedroom to peel off my damp layers. Painful pricks jab into the soles of my feet and pads of my fingers as I regain feeling. I towel off the cold droplets still clinging to my skin before putting on a set of flannel pajamas. I'm hugging the soft material close, loving the warm feel of it fighting off the chill. When I hear the bathroom door creak open, the second before I turn around, I realize I isn't some of the most shapeless, least sexy garments I own. Then I do turn, and the regret of my choice doubles. Multiplies by 1,000,000, because I get a gorgeous view of Warner. Damp hair, chest bare, towel hanging low on trim hips, grinning wickedly at me, and I am not dressed for seduction. It's hard to remind myself that I decided against getting flirty with this biker when he's one tug of a towel away from being without clothes. So deliciously, without clothes. and other things I could do with or without clothes Warner. Like spread him on my bed and lick his see something you like, he asks with sin in his voice. I shove my lust away, the task akin to Sisyphus struggling against his boulder. Yes, I mutter, ignoring how Warner's grin grows wider. Grandma Minnie has very nice towels. Part 30 Warner's Owie slips around me, into the bathroom and shuts the door, while she takes a moment to herself. I move to the main room, pulling back a curtain to check on the storm. Still raging away. Fine by me. I'll take any excuse to hole up in a cabin with Zoe. Maybe the rain will go on all night, and she'll invite me for a sleepover. Agike and Reem. Even with my hair wet and my body only covered by a towel. I'm not uncomfortable, but I notice the thick flannels Owie cloaked herself in. I head to the fireplace and spend the next few minutes arranging wood and working to get my lit match to catch the tinder. By time I hear the bathroom door open, there's a decent blaze going. Oh, fire. That's a good idea. Zoe walks up beside me, holding her hands out to the flames, humming happily as the heat plays over her skin. She's beautiful, standing above me, firelight bringing out the gold in her chestnut hair. I'm going to feed Bruce. Are you hungry? I'm on the verge of making a joke about werewolves and dog food when I catch myself, choking on the words and coughing as I do. Can't believe I almost let my secret slip. Just because I'm comfortable around Zoe does not mean she's ready for that. For all of me, as I clear my throat, she pats my back, firmly at first. All business. But then she slows. Her hand lingers on the bearskin between my shoulder blades, as if she likes how I feel. I stifle a groan and stop myself from leaning over to bury my face in her stomach. Her scent, which only teases my nose at the moment, would be strong there. One of her warm spots. Zoe snatches her hand away and retreats to the kitchen. A second later, the clatter of kibble hitting and metal bowl sounds, followed quickly by the heavy padding of Bruce's feet on the hardwood. I'm going to make myself a grilled cheese. Do you want one? I straighten from my crouch, making sure to clutch my towel as I do. Yes, please. My heart pounds faster, but I command it to calm down. It's just a grilled cheese. She has no idea what other meanings I might find in her offer. Zoe wields a large cast iron skillet, arranging it on the stove top. What is your preferred cheese? My brain stutters over the question. My preferred cheese, yes. Your preferred cheese. The cheese that you prefer. She opens the fridge, bending at the waist in a distracting display of her round bottom. I don't know. You mean, like my favorite cheese? If you want to play around with synonyms. Sure. What's your favorite cheese? Shit. I don't think that I have a favorite cheese either. Then she stands, turning to stare at me like this question means something. I panic. I'm yellow. Zoe's eyebrows pull down, disbelief staining her face. Yellow. Her bare feet are silent on the wood floor as she steps toward me. Did you just tell me your favorite cheese is yellow cheese? Yes. I offer my most hopeful smile and pray that she moves on to a topic I'm more familiar with. Want to know my favorite meat? Pulled pork. Favorite beer? Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA. Favorite dessert? Roderick's rhubarb pie. Favorite smell? Wet Zoe. Wet Zoe. As my mind threatens to go dirty places, the sexy human can't get past my mental block on dairy products. Warner, can you name 5 different types of cheeses? Sure. I'm a liar who likes to dig himself into deep holes to impress a woman. Okay, go. Said woman waits, arms crossed over her chest. Delicious, sweet scent amplified by her damp hair. Right now. Yes. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Well, there's the obvious I speak with false confidence yellow cheese. She pinches her bottom lip as if in deep thought. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And, you know white cheese. Sure. She responds. Deadpan. Plus I flounder nacho cheese. Zoe presses her fingers to her mouth, as if concerned. And can't forget I talk slowly as my brain scrambles to fill in the blank string. Who would forget that? Her voice is tight with some kind of emotion. Not me. And there you go. 5 cheeses. My relief is short-lived because she shakes her head. Nope. That was 4. Yellow cheese, white cheese, nacho cheese, and string cheese. Her slim fingers tick each off. What's one more type of cheese? Any type. Any at all. My eyes search the room, as if Zoe will have put up a poster listing all the different kinds of cheeses she expects me to know. I have to know the name of some kind of cheese. Right. But my mind is a mess. And finally I mumble the only other cheese-related thing I'm able to pull out of my panicked ass. Sorry. What was that? I didn't catch it. Her eyes sparkling. I clear my throat and commit to my answer. Goldfish crackers. Silence descends over the cabin, and I try to look confident even as I worry that I failed a test. After long seconds tick by, Zoe crosses the few feet separating us, and suddenly her arms are around my waist, her forehead pressed into my bare chest, and she's shaking, while I want to bask in the touch of her against my skin. The shaking worries me. Is she cold again? Goldfish, she chokes on the word, finally tilting her head up to look at me, tears streaming down her cheeks, her mouth hanging open in a disbelieving grin. She's laughing. I don't care that it's at my expense, because Zoe's laughter has recently become my favorite sound in the world. I affect my most earnest expression. Aren't they made of cheese? Zoe gasps in delight, then hugs me tight as the hilarity rolls through her. She doesn't bother to stifle it, and I love that. The wild abandon. She's glorious and adorable. Eventually she pulls away, using a flat hand on my chest to push me toward the couch. I like where this is going. But then she backs away. Stop looking at me like that. Zoe scolds, even as her lips fight a smile. Like what? Now I'm grinning. Like that. Zoe waves at me. All of me. Like my entire body is taking part in the expression she claims she wants me to stop. I am shirtless, so maybe she's not wrong. All right. I move my hands, bringing them up to cover my exposed nipples. Better no. But she's giggling again. You're terrible. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Parts out thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Do you want to punish me? My voice goes low, a touch suggestive. Flirting with Zoe is as easy as breathing. Yes, she says. The conviction in her voice has my witching, and I consider if I need to move my hands lower. Your punishment is that you have to eat whatever I make you even if you don't know what it is. She turns back to the stove, as if that'll keep me from hearing her chuckles. My stomach has no objections. As she preps the mystery food, I return to the fire, after a few minutes of comfortable silence, during which delicious smells begin to waft from the kitchen. Zoe asks another question. How do you keep finding me in the middle of the woods? Part 31 Warner. I pause while shifting a log on the fire, considering how best to answer. My guess, she won't appreciate it if I say I followed her smell. Human woman would rather you didn't mention you can sniff them out. Plus, I doubt she'd believe me unless I revealed my little hairy secret. Still, I stick as close to the truth as I can. The idea of lying to Zoe makes my gut twist uncomfortably. When you were camping, I recognized your truck. I was worried about you out in the woods at night. So, I followed the trail to the lake and saw your campsite. Only, the trail I followed wasn't one humans could pick up. When I glance over, Zoe is focused on her cooking, but she nods in acknowledgement. And today, I came by to say hi, to apologize for crashing your friend date, and to discover if this attraction is mutual. My wolf has locked onto her mating scent, and I can't seem to stop pining after her. I saw you ducking into the woods when I was parking. Wasn't sure where you were headed, but figured you didn't plan to go far. I had settled on the steps of the back porch, looking forward to surprising her. But Zoe never came back. When you were gone for a half hour, More like panicked. At the first few drops of rain, I knew it wouldn't be long before her trail was gone, and I'd have no way of finding her. I went the direction you did, hoping I'd stumble onto you. By the end of my rescue mission, that's exactly how it was. Once the rain came, all trace of Zoe washed away. I couldn't find her. A shadow of that panic ray emerges now with the memory of her soaked through, clutching that tree as if it might somehow keep her alive. But I'm pulled out of the fear of what could have been by the approach of her, safe and whole and carrying to plates with steaming sandwiches. Well, I don't want to condone stalking, but I'm glad you showed up. Not that you're any more equipped to fight a wolf there than I am. Little does she know. What if it had been a mountain lion? Zoe scowls, setting the plates down on the coffee table in front of the fire and pushing Bruce's head away where he goes to sniff at them. That is ridiculous. Seriously, it's unacceptable. How are there that many large predators in one place? She collapses on the couch with a disgruntled huff. Nature should set clear boundaries. I chuckle, settling next to her. Close, but not touching. I'm sure nature will take your complaint into consideration. The plate is warm as I rest it in my lap. This whole situation feels practically domestic, and I crave more of it. Stop stalling. Zoe pokes my shoulder, playfulness in her smirk. Take your punishment. Yes, ma'am. Not that I need any convincing to eat the mouth, watering creation. The smell alone has my stomach demanding its fair share. One bite and I'm drowning in savory, melted goodness. Fucking hell. I mumble around a mouthful. After I swallow, I gaze at Zoe. Sure, my obsession with her is shining from my eyes. What kind of grilled cheese is this? The kind made with my preferred cheese. She teases before taking her own bite and humming appreciation at her work. Unfortunately, my sandwich only lasts 3 more bites. I could have eaten half a dozen and still wanted more. After collecting our dishes and washing them, I returned to the couch in front of the fire, thankful for the continuous loud pounding of the rain outside. Perfect excuse to stick around longer. Your clothes should be dry soon. Zoe sits on her side of the couch, legs pulled into her chest, chin resting on her knees as she watches me move around. Don't worry about me. I'm perfectly comfortable. Showing off. Just a bit. I stretch my arms along the back of the couch, lounging in my terry cloth skirt. I don't know how. Even in this flannel 10 times still chilly, she clutches the collar of her pajama top closed, and I notice the occasional quiver run through her body. Shiver aftershocks. There's a blanket folded over the back of the couch. Leaning forward, I pull it off and drape the quilt over her shoulders. But as I begin to move back to my spot, I notice how Zoe sways toward me, like she wants to follow where I lead. Can I help warm you up? My voice comes out deeper, with more suggestiveness than I meant. The offer should be selfless, and part of my brain is full of concern for Zoe, but there's still the animalistic section that can think of nothing other than touching her again. How do you plan on doing that? Her eyes trace over me in the way I wish her fingers would. I clear my throat and try to keep my tone light-hearted. We could cuddle. I'm an expert cuddler. Zoe purses her lips, but there's something in her gaze, a mixture of heat and humor, that gives me hope. I do love a good cuddle, she admits. Then, by all means, use me as your body pillow. I recline on the couch's armrest, determined that if there's any more contact between us this evening, it'll be because Zoe wanted it. Zoe only hesitates for a second before crawling toward me. I try not to smirk in triumph. You're too muscly to be considered a pillow. Zoe crosses her arms on my pecs and rests her chin on them, maintaining eye contact. Ever considered developing a bit of a belly? We press together now, and I've never been more comfortable. That's the next part of the plan. I use my sexy, muscly body to draw you in. Then I eat as many grilled cheeses as you're willing to make me until I get to your desired level of see you shines S. So it's my job to turn you into a pillow. She raises one eyebrow. I nod solemnly. I'm here for your pleasure. Do whatever makes you happy. Zoe's face shifts from humor to curiosity. her attention dropping to my lips. I keep still, holding on to my decision to let her make all the first moves. But I should have known. Zoe doesn't move without asking questions first. Are you this flirty with everyone? No, I shrug. I'm friendly with everyone. Breaking my rule. I reach out to finger a lock of her damp hair, twining the strands around my finger. I only flirt with you. Zoe Gunner. Will admitting that I'm flirting scare her off? She's not running even though I followed her into the woods multiple times. She's got to know. I'm obsessed. Do you want to have sex with me? Hartford Tito Warner. I jerk. Her words electric. My wolf shifts. Restless for me to take this woman as mine. To claim her. She continues to stare at me, giving nothing away, while my body heats up, blood pumping thick and fast. And south. That depends. My voice rasps like sandpaper on rough wood. On what? If you want to sleep with me, how is that a determining factor? I shift, keeping my hardness away from her and attempting a light tone, because I don't make a practice of sleeping with women who don't want to sleep with me. Good point. Zoe levers her torso up, moving forward so she can loom over me. The flannel of her pajamas drags against my ovary-sensitive skin. Okay then. My answer is, I haven't decided. Hope crawls through my chest. I have a chance. Tell me what I need to do. The words are hoarse, aching with mead. Well, now that sounds like a man whose mind is made up. Zoe smirks, and I grin in response. Once more, her gaze trips down to my mouth. Can I kiss you? Warner Jameson. For a moment, my body freezes, but then the raging heat is back, and my inner beast is howling. I nod, head bobbing more times than needed and with more vigor than normal. Zoe reaches up, brushing away a curl that teases my forehead. Just kissing. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Just kissing. I agree, willing her to cross the last few inches separating us. Maybe she sees the desperation in my eyes because she finally dips her head, bringing a wave of her sugar and earth scent with her. Zoe approaches kissing as if she's researching. Each brush of her mouth against mine is a question, an exploration. She teases her lips over mine slowly, learning the shape, turning my brain to mush. I don't detect hesitation in her movements. The sedate pace isn't because she's unsure. This approach speaks of a certain type of skill. Zoe knows not every kiss is the same, and she's determined to discover the right way to fit our mouths together. I, the animal that I am, fight the urge to plunder and suck and bite. I mirror her gentle movements, showing I can follow her lead. My restraint is rewarded when she settles her chest on mine and pushes her fingers into my hair. She nips at my lower lip before lavaging the spot with her tongue, as if I might need to be soothed after any rough treatment. A groan spills out of my throat. Zoe captures it with a naughty kiss, delving her tongue into my mouth. We twine together in multiple ways. I find my way past her lush lips, seeking out the cool metal of her piercing. The jewelry has been tormenting me since the first moment I saw Zoe, the glint of gold making it impossible to look anywhere other than her sexy mouth. The attention I pay to it is a tribute, letting Zoe know I worship every bit of her. She gasps, tightening her fingers until I feel the scrape of nails against my scalp. My hands want to participate, till they beg to cup and fondle and undo buttons. Just kissing, whispers through my head. I would never break my promise to her, never do anything to make Zoe feel unsafe. So I simply wrap my arms around her lower back, hugging her, clutching her close. At some point we roll to the side. Zoe's back to the fire, her head resting on a throw pillow. The questioning quality fades from her caresses. Now there's a relaxed element, a playful one as she sneaks in an occasional teasing bite, snickering at the way I groan whenever she does. Time doesn't mean much when I'm kissing Zoe. The most attention I give to anything outside our little cocoon of happiness is to appreciate the steady pounding of rain that hasn't let up. At some point, in a natural progression, my lips wander away from hers, pressing against the curve of her cheekbones, then trailing up to her forehead where I bury my nose in her loose, damp hair. Breathing her in relaxes me more than any drug ever could. This is more than attraction, which is why I had to fight off a wave of angry fear when I found her hiding in that tree. When Zoe said the growling might have come from a wolf, I was instantly alert. There aren't any wolf packs near Pine Falls. The pure wolves sent us. They know this is our territory, which means the only wolf that could have been nipping at her heels would have been a werewolf, and I don't know what that means. The mystery agitates my inner beast. There's no reason for any of our pack to harass a human. Sure, we maintain an air of intimidation in town, but we don't come after people in our animal forms. That's just begging for wary acceptance to morph into a mortal versus supernatural civil war. Roderick would be furious. I remind myself it may not have been a wolf. Zoe said the animal could have been a bear, and there are plenty of those in the woods around here. Wolves and bears don't really discuss property lines. Normally, I'd be able to figure out the culprit with little effort. That's the beauty of heightened senses. But the rain washed away any scent trail or tracks, and I couldn't even hear Zoe's panicked panting when I found her hiding up in that tree. I almost missed her completely. What would have happened if I hadn't come along? She's strong and resourceful, but that doesn't mean she can fight off a bear. Zoe settles deeper into my arms, and I realize she's dozed off. She buries her face into my neck as if she's seeking warmth from me. I'll give it to her, every ounce that she needs. The memory of her lips, trembling and turning blue with cold, has my heart pounding heavy and panicked. I tighten my hold and adjust the blanket thrown over us, so it's just beneath her chin, and I take comfort in the fact that her lips are flushed red now. Warmed to life by lazy kisses. Part 33. Zoe. I slip one of the cassette tapes into the stereo, hit play, and gaze around the cabin as my mom's voice fills the room. The glimpse into her past paired with her superior music taste makes each new tape an enjoyable surprise. I savor them, only putting one on when I'm doing something productive. Now I just need to figure out exactly what my productive activity will be. The rocking chairs I've been working on are out in the front yard, their new coat of stain needing some time to dry. Minnie's closet is only half cleared, so there's that option, but that task sets off an ache in my chest, and I shy away from the potential emotions paired with touching her personal items. When I decided to come to Pine Falls, I thought cleaning up the cabin would be a mind-numbing task. I figured as my hands kept busy, I could ponder my relationship with my family and what future I see for myself, hoping I could discover the balance between what I want, what I need, and what I'm capable of. But Minnie's presence is everywhere, and I'm having trouble separating myself from thoughts of her. After yesterday's interaction with Warner, I'm hoping for less emotion, not more. After we stopped kissing, I drifted off to sleep. He may have, too, but by the time I woke back up, Warner was staring down at me with a secret smile. Also, the rain had stopped. In the moment, I had had multiple routes. I could have drawn his face down to mine and started up another round of making out. Or I could have taken advantage of his almost, without clothes state to move the interaction to the next level. I declared that his clothes were probably dry and asked if he wanted me to get them. Warner had smirked down at me and said, whether I want them or not, it's probably better if I put them on. When he was dressed, we stood quietly in the kitchen for some time. He watched me, and I tried to think straight with his entire focus trained my way. Are you looking for a hookup? Maybe I could be the type of woman who allows herself pleasure without diving into deep emotions. His eyes widened. I'm not judging you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I might be open to it. You might be. Well, I'm not about to stroke your ego by begging you for it. Warner's lips pinched together, but a snort still escaped. Annoyance spiked through my chest. Are you laughing at the idea of hooking up with me? No, Zoe. I'm laughing at the idea that you'd have to beg me for anything when I'm following you around like a lovesick puppy. The statement caused a strange tangle of emotions. I wanted to laugh at the image while I also fought the urge to cringe away at any mention of the word love. It was just a joke. I remind myself. Warner moved to stand in front of me. Let's start off simple. Did you like kissing me? His voice a low rumble. I nodded. Do you want to do it again in the future? I would. A grin split his face. Then we were on the same page. He kissed me. Another slow, sweet press of his lips against mine. Then he snagged my phone, typed his number into it, and left. And here I am, a day later, wondering if we actually are on the same page. Probably not. That would require me to know exactly what page I'm on. I'm not even sure I know what book I'm in. I tick off facts as they stand. I like Warner. Warner lives in Pine Falls. Pine Falls is temporary for me. When I leave, I have no idea where I'm going. I don't even know when I'm leaving. These are all facts purely based on me. Warner has his own list, and it might include things like he's not looking for anything serious. He's looking for something super serious. He wouldn't mind leaving Pine Falls. He's set down roots and wants to stay here forever. And all end on the mysterious knowledge goes. If I felt in the right headspace, I'd have no trouble asking him to figure out the answers. Questions are my comfort space, but I tend to stick to ones I want the answers to, and I haven't figured out what I want Warner to feel toward me. I like him. That's fine. I decide. It's perfectly fine to like someone. The problems pile on when heavier feelings come into play. I won't fall in love with him. I say this to Bruce, as if my dog will hold me accountable. He raises his giant head from his plush bed for a moment, before settling down again with a sigh. Huge help. Thinking about Warner isn't productive. Time to get back to work. The only task I can come up with that will keep me busy while avoiding deeper, potentially dark, emotions, involves cleaning out Grandma Minnie's pantry. A tower of preserves awaits me. The glass jars are cool in my hands as I begin to pull them out. I focus on that feeling, using the chill to drive away the memories of warm, soft skin under my palms. There's even the temptation to press their cold surface to my lips in an attempt to make me forget the heat of his kiss. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'm not sure I'm strong enough to give that memory up. Cut the tie for Warner. Are you preparing for the apocalypse? Zoe doesn't give me the eye, of my own, bunker in, the basement vibe, but I'm looking at a lot of jars of food on her kitchen table. I drove over here after showering off the grind from my workday, wondering what Zoe had gotten into since I left her the night before. Apparently, it's got something to do with jars. Not me. I wouldn't put it past Grandma Me, though. She didn't really trust people. That could easily include the human population as a whole. Zoe clutches a stack of sticky notes with a pen poised above them as she leans in close to examine one of the jars. She writes something, sticks it to the top, and moves on to the next. I step in closer to read the blue post-it. What's with the question mark? Zoe picks up a jar, staring at the contents with a frown. Minnie didn't label any of these. I guess she knew just by looking. I'm trying to figure out what each one is. Why don't you just open them? She wrinkles her nose, still glaring at the container in her hand. People jar meat sometimes, don't they? If I'm going to open a jar of raw meat, I need to brace myself, because you're worried it'll have spoiled. Oh gosh. Her eyes flick to my face, wide in horror. I hadn't even considered that. I will vomit if that happens. Seriously, I will spew. Zoe sighs, her shoulders drooping as she sets down her jar and sticks it with a note that simply has one big question mark. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'll probably puke even if it hasn't spoiled. You hate raw meat that much. I'm a vegetarian. So yeah. She reaches for the next mason jar. A vegetarian. The wolf in me lets out a silent, disbelieving huff. How can you be a vegetarian? Well, Zoe talks as she holds another jar up to the lamp. I wake up in the morning, and I don't eat meat. Then I go through the day, and I don't eat meat. And I get ready for bed. and I don't eat meat. Then I find another day has gone by, and I'm still a vegetarian. Smart ass? I mutter even as I grin. She smirks over at me, then offers up the jar. Any guesses? Little does she know I don't have to guess. With my supernatural nose I can catch traces even through the unopened lid. I take it from her and breathe deep. Apples and spices. Probably pie filling. Seriously, you can tell that. I shrug, making as if it's no big deal. People jar stuff around here. Guess I just know my preserves. What about this one? She hands me another, and soon I'm the one picking up each jar, making as if I'm examining the contents with my eyes when really, I'm using my nose. Zoe follows behind with her pen poised to write down whatever I say. By the end, every jar is labeled, and I'm hungry. I'm assuming by your previous shocked reaction that you are not a vegetarian. Zoe doesn't look at me as she organizes the jars, so she misses my grimace. A life without meat. My wolf would stage a revolt. Kill carnivore. Or omnivore. I guess. Hope we can still be friends. The answer starts off as a joke, but then a tinge of panic pricks at the back of my brain. What if Zoe is looking for a partner that shares her eating habits? My wolf shifts restlessly under my skin. Zoe doesn't seem to notice my unease as she gathers about 10 jars together and pushes them toward me. On the contrary, an omnivore is exactly what I need. Please accept these jars of meat as a token of my affection. Zoe grins up at me. She has no idea what she just did. You're gifting me food. Well, I'm not about to eat it. And I don't like the idea of an animal having died. And me just throwing them away. You should take them and eat them. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'll get you a bag. Zoe leaves the room, which gives me a minute to compose myself. She doesn't know. I remind myself and my wolf. Zoe has no idea that the offering of food is one of the main parts of a mating ritual. That it's the go-to method for wing a werewolf doesn't change the fact that my wolf pre-NS under the offering of an edible gift, meanwhile begging me to take her. Make her my mate. Werewolves aren't known for subtlety in the world of romance. Once we figure out what we want, we go for it. I'm trying to strike a balance that won't push her away. Zoe returns to the kitchen area with a cloth bag and carefully places the jars into the sack. Pausing halfway through, can you carry this while riding your bike? The image pops into my head. Me cruising through town, a shopping bag over my shoulder. If any of my pack mates spot me, I'll be teased for years. Still, I shrug. Who gives a damn? It's a gift from Zoe. If she wants to shove the food into a hot pink purse, I'll deal. I don't want you to drop them. Let's go put them in your saddlebags. She finishes packing them and heads for the front door. Bruce follows on her heels, thick tail wagging in anticipation. I mimic the animal, trailing after the beautiful woman. Zoe is kind of a mess today, wearing loose overalls paired with a ragged t-shirt. There are brown splotches all over her outfit that my nose tells me are wood stain. She's piled her honey brown hair on top of her head, but random strands tumble free. There's a subtle hint of dust in dust to her scent, probably from pulling out all these long, stored preserve jars. Seeing her like this makes me want her more. She's so relaxed. In her element. Zoe never puts on a mask or a show, and every different version of her is just another glimpse at the woman I know I'm falling for. The sun dips below the trees, signaling the quickly approaching night. Normally I like working at my uncle's construction site, but today felt like I was counting minutes until I could ride back out here, until I could talk to Zoe again. Hold your helmet. She's beside my bike, having opened one of the saddle bags and pulled out the head protection I wear every time I ride now. When I accept it from her, our fingers graze, and her eyes flick to mine before returning to her task. It's not long before the 2 leather bags are bulging with the glass jars. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Good to go. Zoe smiles up at me, and I'm done holding back. My arms snake around her waist. pulling her close. Part 35 Warner. I've decided how you can repay me for the jigsaw. Gently, I trace my lips over the lines of her face. I taste her skin, loving the bit of salt mixed with the heat of a rising blush. Oh really? Her voice sounds light, breathless. How would you feel about taking a break tomorrow? Taking a break? As if the idea never occurred to her. Yes. As in, give yourself a day off from the cabin and website designing. Let me take you out. She tilts her head up to meet my eyes. Like, on a date. For dinner. More than just dinner. I'm requesting a full day. You and me. Going on an adventure. And yes, a date. I move my hands up her back, admiring the shape of her through her baggy clothes. What's an adventure date? You've never had an adventure date. I grin down at her and she responds with a curious smile. Can't say that I have. Well then you're in for a treat. I officially summited a mountain, for the first time. How have I lived my entire life in Colorado and never done so before? Probably because I spend most of my time bent over a computer, rather than planning adventures. Watch your step. You might not think it, but going up is easier than coming down. Warner calls over his shoulder, navigating the rocky trail as easily as if he's strolling down a sidewalk on Main Street. I keep my eyes on the ground, avoiding any obvious loose rocks. It's not long before the heavy steps start up and ache in the soles of my feet, and despite Grandma Minnie's boots being my size, they still rub blisters on my soles. The band-aids I put on a little while ago only help so much. Still, by the time we reach the trailhead, the sun is just sinking below the trees. The sweat on my skin makes me shiver, and I hurry to unlock my truck. You cold? I brought this. Warner sets his backpack on the bed of the truck and rummages in it until he pulls out a large black sweatshirt. It matches his outfit for the day: black baseball hat, black t-shirt, black athletic shorts, black socks. The only bit of him that's not Noir are his brown hiking boots. I wonder if the gothic color palette is his attempt to maintain his biker persona even as he dresses for hiking. What would it take to get him in a pink shirt? He'd still probably look badass. The sweatshirt is large on me, and I enjoy the soft warmth of it while ignoring the fact that I'm stinking it up with my sweaty body. A shower is going to feel so good. Thank you. I grin up at Warner, and he leans over to press a kiss at the corner of my jaw, his hot breath against my ear making me shiver for an entirely different reason. He's even kind enough to not wrinkle his nose at what I'm sure is a cloud of recovering around me. Once we're on the road, me behind the wheel, Warner hands me a granola bar after hearing the grumbling complaint from my stomach. You had fun, right? He asked between bites of his own snack. I nod. Are there more hikes like that around here? Around is a relative term, seeing as how we drove a good hour to reach the trailhead. But the views were worth it. Every time we broke through the trees, we could gaze for miles at the gorgeous, jagged tops of the Rocky Mountains. Living in Colorado my whole life, I took for granted the beautiful views from my apartment and car window. I never considered how much better they'd be if I got off my butt and climbed a little higher. Warner chuckles, reaching over to give my knee an affectionate squeeze. Plenty. We can climb as many mountains as you want, especially if I get to hike behind you. Why is that? Because I love the view. He draws his hand further up my thigh before giving another squeeze. I snort and bat his hand away. I'm driving. You're going to make us run off the road. He leans back against his door, laughing. Warner is tearing into his third granola bar when things go wrong. The car sputters and shakes, and stalls out. The engine goes quiet. Luckily, the brakes don't fail. I slow us down, coasting to the side of the road until I can bring us to a full stop. Did you run out of gas? Leaning over to study the dashboard now. I still have half a tank. I reach past the steering wheel to tap the display. Only, the second I make contact, the gas needle quivers and drops to land on the E. Fuck. My forehead hits the steering wheel. This truck keeps finding new ways to screw me over. Zoe. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Comforting hand cradles the back of my neck. We may be 45 minutes from town. I'll just call. His trailing off has me turning my head, and I catch Warner frowning at his phone. You don't have any service here, do you? His grimace is all the response I need. I reach for my own phone, and my hope is quickly dashed. No bars for me either. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. New plan, Warner says. You chill out here, and I'll jog down the road till I get service or find a gas station. We cast at least one on our way out. See, I like that plan. Except for the part where I'm required to sit in a truck alone on the side of the road with no cell service for who knows how long. Plus, look at you. I gesture at his body. Warner glances down at himself, brow wrinkling in confusion. I reach over to pluck at his dark shirt. Walking on the side of the road, dressed like this, you're practically begging to get hit by a car. Meanwhile, my hounds wave at the colourful leggings I chose to wear on our hike could easily act as a traffic cone. We'll both go. But his lips curl into a reluctant smile. We'll both go.